Hey everyone, this is going to be a little bit of a guide and a little bit talking about boss design. This is obviously a 3-staged boss, obviously spoilers if you're looking at this video. I will try to be better about the thumbnail this time. But let's talk about the stages. You got the gut, you got the eye, and then you got the body of work, hateful god, whatever you're looking at. The wiki says hateful god. The first two phases aren't the most difficult, but they really do set you up for the final phase. So we need to talk about what can we do for the first two phases to give us the best chance in the third. To be honest, the third phase is really the one where you have to prepare your party for the most. The first two phases might be annoying, maybe one phase is easier than the other. For example, this party deals much better with the second phase rather than the first. Having the Flage and the Plague Doctor are obviously blight heavy, and this boss and this segment of the boss has 100 blight resist. Now I do have the path on the Plague Doctor where I get 33% more blight penetration, so you will actually see that go off. The Flage has a 0% chance of getting his stuff off. Also the critical helps as well. But overall, the HP is only 175. You don't want to be blowing your item load here. If you think this is going to be your hardest one, maybe you do want to use a little more items than you originally planned. Maybe you want to bring in a few items that do like bleed and fire over blight, just to get through this phase faster. This phase can hurt. I would argue it's probably less bad than the other phase. Because, well, in my scenario, I had a trinket where I could go, I think I either took 1 damage or go again. So I actually really do just burn this guy down really quick. He can hurt after a while. Some things you could do for this boss is obviously reliant on the heavy blight resist, because the Plague Doctor and Flage are so good. It kind of takes advantage of you probably having at least one of those two in your party. People who'd be also good is like Riposte on the Highwayman, Riposte on the Man-at-Arms, maybe Guarding on the Man-at-Arms. But overall, I think having the Hellion for physical damage is great. Having a Plague Doctor with Incision here would actually be pretty good as well. Leper would be pretty good if you have some trinkets and abilities to keep his blinds off of him. There's a lot of good choices to have here. You're definitely going to need heals throughout this whole fight. You're going to need it for the first fight, to the second, and especially in the third. The first fights are really just kind of soften you up and make you use your items. Other than that, as you can see, we got through all that HP in 3 rounds, and I wasn't even, like chucking my item load. I haven't used any heals. I was just really trying to just conserve all those items, use a few in the second round, and then what we want to do is just absolutely use everything at the end, because you'll be fighting those cherubs, which are pretty difficult to hit as they'll get evasion tokens. And each one of those buggers does have 26 HP. It's not something you can just exactly burn through quickly. So the first boss was obviously the gastric fluids, and then he would use the ability where he would just do a lot of damage on you. The second phase is fairly similar. What you really want to be prepping for is Haymaker, so you're going to get glared. And what glare is going to do is just set up for that absolutely crunching final ability. Ways to get around that: you can weaken the boss. We'll look at its debuffer. It's only, so yeah, it's 40%. It's decent. I wouldn't necessarily rely on weakening skill, but you can definitely do a guard or a 50-75% protection token. It's really going to soak up a lot of that damage from the Haymaker, and 200 HP with lower resistances aren't that bad either. So you should be able to get through this boss's HP a lot quicker, and this is where, like I said, you should probably use some of those items. I used one there just to get rid of the blind token. I wanted the actual ability to land more, because obviously I couldn't use the item after the ability. So I got rid of my blind token, hit him up with that. That was rabies, that wasn't what the boss did. And yeah, you're pretty much just going to DOT physical rush this boss down, because you really don't want to mess around too long with that Haymaker on the table, because it will be absolutely brutalizing. So not much more to say, other than if you got guard, if you got protection tokens, protection. Other than that, use items for raw damage, use items for DOT, make sure you have enough healing items for the final part of the boss. I have a triage kit, and I want to say I have one more sense of healing. I'll have to look at my items again. The horn will be used like right at the very end of this fight. So that's where the horn will be used. And once we get to the runaway and fladge, I'll look at the items again. So it should be this into a haymaker, I believe. Yes, there we go. So 28 damage. It can do up to 40. I believe it can like add stun. It goes through evasion, all that stuff. It's just going to hit you. You're going to want someone with decent speed to come back and pick them all up. I use a holy water there, so that's one of my items. Holy waters aren't bad because obviously it blinds, focuses on, you know, combo tokens, all that wonderful jazz. Not getting hit is just generically good, and getting rid of all that other stuff is obviously good. So that relationship was super nice. It just stopped me from obviously having to heal. And this is where I officially decided to use the war horn, because I'm like right near that limit where I'm like, you know what, it's gonna melt. I didn't expect a 71 crit. However, obviously the 71 crit really allows us to enter the last stage. And I might jump around a bit in this last stage here, because for the most part it's the same stuff over and over. What we really need to think about in the last stage is this is where our party matters, because now we got the shackles coming back, their whole, you know, shindig of, well, you can't use this ability, you can't use that ability, and it's once per round, which does matter because I have a trinket set on once again that allows me to possibly take an extra turn. So some turns I'll be allowed to use Firefly, other turns I'm not going to be able to. So it does actually matter that, like, so right now I can't use a ranged ability. Now if I heal and get a second turn, which I say I don't remember. Yeah, so, but as you saw, it just changed right there. So just keep that in mind. If you have things that give you extra turns, it will be changing every time you take an action, not at the end of your turn. What you just saw right there is, that's probably the worst skill coming from the main guy. It gives you Har, it pushes you back. The Fladge doesn't care about Har too much, which is why he's such a good pick for this fight. Just let him stress out, let him get toxic, and then let him do what he does best. Everyone else try to keep happy. There's my triage kit used obviously for full HP. At this point it's just a DOT race. Sadly, the massive evasion tokens in the back is pretty brutal. There's not much I can do about that other than pray for a 25% chance. Sadly, it does not happen. If it would have, I would have saved some damage, but it's okay, it happens. The cherubs aren't really that bad probably for about the first 2 rounds. Once your party starts getting a little weaker, you run out of your items, maybe you run out of your per use battle abilities. That's when the cherubs set 3 to 4, you really start to feel it. All your people are stressed out, they all got DOT. You know, like I said, they've used their good skills. It's a tough time. At any point I can heal, I heal. Sometimes I could move if I wanted to, but I don't. Adding generic damage to the boss is good. Resisted the DOT there. It happens, you know. So I believe, yeah, I don't use Adrenaline Rush yet. And the reason why I don't use Adrenaline Rush yet is because it obviously doesn't cure the stress, and I only got so many. And the Hellion, I wanted to be one of the last people alive, because she's going to have the possibility of just keep regaining HP without depending on other people. I'm trying to save my Cauterizes. I'm trying to save my battlefield medicines. I'm using indiscriminate science, you know, I'm trying to use as little heals as possible until we probably get about 3/4 through this fight. So I'm really trying to not use my healing abilities till halfway through the fight. Obviously keep your people alive. If it's save a heal or use a heal, obviously the saving your person, not chancing RNG, is the correct choice. But in my scenario, yeah, they're low, but the Fladge has ways to heal himself. The Hellion has ways to heal herself. We have ways to heal the Hellion if she gets hurt. The Fladge and the Plague Doctor are a great combo because he can use Lash's gift. Indiscriminate Science gives even more HP, and it's just bonkers HP. So now that the Hellion's being focused, that's going to be my first time I use Cauterize, because it's like, oh crap, I can't use any other skills. Instead of passing, I do decide just to get rid of that bleed on myself, keep her capped off. At this point, I'm very interested in keeping the other 3 very healthy and letting the Fladge just take some damage because he's going to do it. And once again, he's not going to get focused. There's only one attack coming from the main body. The Hellion's going to be taking the other stuff. So at this point, right, I can lash his gift, I get the evasion, I get the critical, I get all that. Cool, cool, cool. And he's also near toxic status, which will also help. And now we have the Hellion to the front row, and hopefully she doesn't get turned around, and we can take down this image of that. Max damage, really great. It could have been sketchy, it could have been a lot worse. I'm not sure what the free turn was for there. I'd have to check why she just got to go twice in a row, to be honest. I don't remember that. But I get to go next. It could be toe-to-toe. It could be... I can't use melee, so it's probably adrenaline rush. Yeah, so this is the time where I say, you know what? We need to get rid of those exhaustions. I need to get HP back via hitting. And the whole time, all we're going to be doing is either moving, we're hitting the final boss, but I say I'm probably going to move the flash forward. Yep. And I probably will move him one more time. Yeah, so he's going to become toxic. Once again, we don't care. This is a great thing. We want the flash to become toxic. We want a toxic work environment. See how bad his relationships were? We honestly don't care. Now he's in prime position. He still has that evasion. He still has that crit token. Our Hellion is still perfectly safe. She just died from the... Oh, there's a trinket on the Hellion where if she gets hit, I think it does 2 damage. So, get HP back. Exaltation. Beautiful. We got one free turn. I just decided to stack on the DOT. I'm looking around. That is the correct choice. I could have maybe have done Instrument Science, gotten all that stuff healed. But I really want to keep the critical around and that evasion token just in case he gets focused. He does not, sadly. Finally, resist the move, which is really great. The movement is really brutal, and that's probably what's going to hurt you the most. It's just constantly having your front row maybe go back. So people maybe like the man-at-arms who could just riposte or guard from the back isn't bad. Sadly, we do miss with that critical. We lose everything. We lose the critical. We lose the strength token. I mean, it was just a generically bad RNG chance. It happens. It's going to happen. You know, I'm not going to say that was bad luck or anything. It's just literally a 50-50 shot. But I was telling you my theory behind it, you know, like, save the critical, you know, that could have been really great. At this point, I can only heal, and I need to heal. I need to use the battlefield medicine to get the flag up. Good critical on that. We're all capped off fairly well. And like I said, the body of work's at 689. I think we've done about, like, what? That means, like, 100 damage of it, right? Yeah, so we've done about 100 damage. We got a few more DOTs going. It's very important to get the back one down, and like I said, that trinket where I get 2 turns in a row is just amazing. And I will toe-to-toe here so I get focused, and also I won't Howling Zen back to the Plague Doctor. This party was very sensitive to movement shifting, so I didn't want to keep shifting the party because I really need the Plague Doctor to run away in the back, and that's what you need to think about. You're like, alright, when I get to this boss, what's going to be the issue? Is it going to be shifting? Do I got enough HP heals? I wouldn't worry about stress too terribly much because it's the end of the game. I wouldn't worry about stress healing. So if you're like, oh no, everyone's sitting at 7 stress, who cares? It's the last fight. You can blind the people that summon, which is good because obviously a miss or 2 will be nice. Help them out any way you can. I think I was gonna say, trying to save those items once again to get blinds off, to get combo. Who knows what you need to take off that are negative. And we're just going to chop right into the final boss, get rid of that 75% evasion. Obviously a miss. But yeah, that's all we're going to do. We're just going to try to, whoever gets focused, we want to give them the best possibility. And I say, I might even, they'll say, I'm going to give him, give the Plague Doctor her heals over time. So now I don't really need to worry too terribly much about the Plague Doctor's HP status, because I know she's going to be getting healed. All I really need to do is probably hit up one more Plague Grenade, and that is going to die. So once again, it kind of stinks that I couldn't do anything. I just used the item, and I'm honestly not sure why. I probably should have saved that. I might get a second turn, a third now. Okay. Like I said, the movement is kind of crappy. Thankfully, I didn't fly to the back. But at this point, we're obviously just going to punish, running like toe-to-toe, Howling Zen, any damage we can do in this phase, because it's actually not that bad. The weird dream face your failure thing is not an incredibly destructive like force. Like, this is actually a good time to catch up on HP. You don't want to stay here forever, obviously, because you do want to get through all the failures. That's where you're going to truly get most of your damage, and also heals you and de-stresses you. So you don't want to stick for it forever, but it's not a bad time to catch up on a few heroes. Be like, alright, let's get this exhaustion off you. Let's get your HPs back up. Can we set you up for once we do, finish the failure? So those are just one of the things you want to be considering. It's just like, okay, when we come out of this failure, where do we want to be at? Double critical is obviously extremely RNG friendly, as well as obviously getting a free turn. We don't even have to worry about that. Empty vessel, if you can buy in items where you get a lot of DOT resist, that's a huge thing. For the most part, I've talked about this boss fight about as much as you need to know. I just want to just give Redhook its flowers for this final boss. I know some people said this boss was easy. I think what people were used to is just getting absolutely slammed by AoE ever since the, the Seething Sigh. I don't think the Seething Sigh, the third boss and fourth boss, the arms, are Redhook's best attempts at final boss. Do they hurt? Yes. Are they strong? Yes. Is there ways to counter them fairly easy? Yes. By the way, that Flash Plague Doctor combo is insane. It's so much HP and it's like guaranteed every other turn. Anyways, beside that, I really think this boss makes you think. It brings back other bosses, which we talked about. The Shackles, which I personally gush over. I think it's one of the better boss designs still. It uses stress, it uses damage, it brings back the shrines, so the failures, which is a really nice touch. It really does just kind of bring everything back into a nice bow. You can't beat this boss if you don't have healings or a good party for it, so it's not like you can walk in with any party and just expect to beat this. I do lose the runaway in the end, so it's not even like this fight was so easy I walk out scot-free. I do still lose somebody. I think I could have saved her. I just didn't care because if you look at like the HP and all that stuff, it was a like done sealed case. And once again, I'm using my last call to rise just to finish this up. But I think this boss is balanced. You do need to plan for it. I thought a decent amount of time with this party, and I know it's like almost exactly the same as my I think what was it? Was it the Man-at-Arms? I forget who I had instead of the Hellion, but the Hellion was a tough choice because it did add some questions of like, how do we reliably stress heal? I want to say it was Man-at-Arms. Yeah, the Hellion was the Man-at-Arms, which is really important because Man-at-Arms has good stress heal, riposte, can remove tokens. Like, it's a big deal to have the Man-at-Arms in your comp. I decided to forego it for just more raw damage. The Man-at-Arms kinda can, but obviously not nearly the power of a Ravager Hellion or the Hellion in general. So it was definitely a tougher choice. I kept the two back row people's DOT just so I could melt through the second phase and also this third phase here, because getting that back row cherub is extremely important. Now hold on, gotta get these dogs. The back row damage is extremely important. I mean, it really does. The rate in which you can kill the back row cherub, it's crucial. I mean, it's pretty much all that matters. Now with him dying, I pretty much knew this was a wrap. He gets to heal, I get to do the damage. I like the fact that you get to heal off stressing. Like, it's a marathon of a boss. You don't get cheesed by just losing anyone instantly like in the first Darkest Dungeon, even though it's like the very last. And obviously there's ways you could just take it 2 people. I'm not going to talk about that. But I think the movement, the horror, bring back cherubs, and having them use like interesting DOT abilities and stuff like that is just a really nice touch. So I wish Redhook found ways to make other bosses this interesting. I'm not saying they had to be this long. Oh gosh, no, they definitely did not have to be this long. This should be obvious. This should only be reserved for a boss like this. But they had so many decent ideas and designs on how to do damage and how to prolong fights. I felt like they could have easily as translated to any other Confession boss, and they just kind of felt like they almost forgot. But yeah, absolutely, the design's really pretty. They did a very good job design-wise in this game in general. I don't think I've ever complained about how people looked or the graphics. It's very good. But yeah, we'll finish up this fight. I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. A little review, how-to guide when I'm not doing it live. When you're doing stuff live, you miss things. You're thinking about what to do, not explaining your choices. You don't exactly get to go the theory behind why you chose the classes you did. Which skills would be great, which heroes you could use instead. At this rate, it was just cleanup. I mean, honestly, I could have just probably done a Noxious Blast. It doesn't really matter. 132 HP. I mean, yeah, this fight's pretty much over, especially with going 2 turns in a row. But once again, because you take an extra action, it does change the abilities you are allowed to use. I don't know what the move chance of that ability is, but my Hellion did get moved a lot. So the only thing I'm thinking of is maybe have a character that can help reset people. So I don't know if the Hellion's the best The Highwayman would be very good. The Man-at-Arms was good, and I think I could have honestly beat the boss with the Man-at-Arms instead of the Hellion. I just did a few mistakes, such as I had Orphan on the Runaway instead of the class I do now. I don't think that was the correct choice. And here I wish I could have attacked, but you saw me hover over the main boss, and I do actually get my attack with that extra trinket. I just go for the body of work. It's 80. Oh, no, I don't. I thought I did. Okay, I guess I do it out of, like, what I want to call it. I guess I was trying to keep everyone alive and just do all 4 exaltations. You don't have to. The boss does not have a death door resist. Yeah, so that was a questionable move by me. I probably should have just gone for the burn chance on the main boss, but doesn't really matter. As you see, I don't even heal. I could have healed the Runaway, probably saving her. I have my candles and all that stuff, so if she died, she died. I just wanted to pump out damage. Like I said, that's honestly why I'm a little confused why I didn't even try to go for that. I do Undying. I guess I still cared. I don't know why. This was just a little misplays by me, and I wouldn't recommend doing misplays like that. Either decide to focus the final boss once you get near the stage, or focus on making sure that those illusions go away. Well, the ladies. So I smoke screen the final boss. Once again, I don't know. I guess I was messing around at this point because there wasn't really any good reasons to just do the action I did there. And I think that pretty much finishes it. 23, yeah. So like I said, my poor, I don't do enough damage here. Well, it would have next damage. The Runaway does not get a Death's Door survival check. Yeah, it does not get, let's say, a Resolute either. Doesn't matter. There's many ways to save her. I could have Battlefield Medicine, she would have been fine. I could have focused the final boss, probably killing it, so whatever. Doesn't matter. So once you lose your failure, you obviously go back to fighting the cherubs, but here we are, dead. It's a pretty fair boss, all things considered. It's an interesting boss. It's certainly long enough. 20 minutes is a good chunk. It's engaging. I don't feel like it's a complete grind. It's interesting enough. You're facing constant enemy add-ons. You're facing your failures. You're having HP issues and distress issues. It's a very good boss. I won't show the ending clip just in case you really haven't seen it too terribly much. I'm going to let you honestly witness that on your own. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.